Good afternoon, everybody. And welcome to Camarillo United Methodist Church for our annual Spring Bell Choir Concert. My name is Christy Van Kiersbilk. I'm the Director of Bells here at Camarillo United Methodist. And we are very happy that you're here today for what is a bit of a milestone for us. This is our 19th Bell Concert together, which means that next year is our 20th anniversary, and we are in the mood to celebrate. So we've put together some of our favorite songs to play for you today. All 5 of our handbell choirs are here to play for you, starting with our newest and youngest bell choir, which is the CDC Chimers. The CDC Chimers are children 3 and 4 years old who go to our Child Development Center. And on Wednesday afternoons, they've been coming and playing music with me. We play and we sing and we explore different musical concepts. And we've been working on a song that we'd like to share for you today. You probably know it. It's called Are You Sleeping? We've taken the liberty of adding some of our own words, though. So listen carefully. This is Are You Sleeping? All right, thank you to our preschoolers and their families for being here today. We're so glad to welcome you to our church and our church family. This was a really fun group to work with. They were the highlight of my week every week. And I hope to see them in some music classes again soon, maybe next fall in the preschool or maybe at one of our choirs here. Parents, you can pick up your kids in the conference room, and then I hope you'll come back and join us for the rest of our concert because we have some really great music. So Mr. Van has been helping me. My husband, Mr. Van, has been helping me with this group on Wednesdays. So that's why he made it into the song, Are You Sleeping, Mr. Van? And every week we would learn about a different animal group, and we'd sing songs about different animals. The favorite, of course, was Baby Shark. So you'll notice that Baby Shark made it into the concert as well. I love working with these kids, and part of it is because I realize, and you've heard me say this probably 19 times in the 19 concerts, music is so important to a child's development. They need music academically, socially, emotionally, and cognitively. And adults, we do too. Music is a way that kind of brings everything all together in our brains. It gets those neural pathways going. So learn to play an instrument. Join a bell choir or a choir. Go to see concerts. And be sure to advocate for music in our schools, because music shouldn't be an afterthought in our lives. So, that being said, we're having a quick changeover of chimes. We are now being joined by the Cheer Up Chimes. These kids meet on Sunday mornings. Cheer Up Chimes is open for kids 4 to 8 years old, and we've been learning about music by singing, moving, playing games, and playing instruments, including the choir chimes. We learn what I call the opposites of music: high, low, fast, slow, soft, loud, start and stop, which is sometimes the more challenging one. And we even had a backwards day this year where we sang everything backwards, right, guys? That was their idea. It was very hard. We also learned about the difference between beat and rhythm and how to read simple rhythms. So the cherub chimes play their songs. She's already got it. This is my assistant, Haley, who's thinking ahead of me. They play out a color-coded songboard, and they sing the words or the melody, and they play the harmony on the chimes. And this year, we're also challenging them a little more by having them do a little bit of melody on the chimes by reading the notes. So wish us luck. This is probably one of the most famous and well-loved songs in the world, Jesus Loves Me. Trick that will come in handy throughout this concert. Unless you see my arms go down, we're not done yet. All right? Keep that in mind because it'll come up in later song. They're not done yet. Wait just a second. All right, so moving on to this group here. As I mentioned at the beginning of the concert, as of September, I'll have been the bell choir director here for 20 years, which is really hard to believe for me because I still feel like I'm faking it almost all the time. And I am a novice compared to this group here. Come on up, bells. The original CUMC bell choir, adult bells, has been ringing continuously at this church since 1977, so 46 years. It's not all the same people, I have to admit. And our original longtime bell director is here somewhere. Where is Emily Vanneman? There's Emily. Emily led our bell choir for almost 20 years, and we literally would not be here without her. So we'd like to celebrate Emily and all the people who have played with our bell choir for the last 46 years. Now, our first song together this evening was written back in 1729 by a French composer, Jean-Joseph Mouret, for the court of King Louis XV. But you probably know it better as the theme to that beloved show on PBS, Masterpiece Theater. Any PBS fans out there? Yeah. Masterpiece Theater went on the air in 1971, and it had the very prim, proper host, Alistair Cook. And it became known for shows like Upstairs, Downstairs, and The First Churchills. And now, 50 years later, Masterpiece, as it's now called, is still going strong. It has some of my favorite shows like Downton Abbey and All Creatures Great and Small. And you can even hear a little bit of this melody in the commercials on PBS. You guys ever catch the Viking River Cruise commercials? I love those. Yes, I have vacation envy. Every time I see them, I want to be on one of those cruise ships. We first played this piece for you in 2013, and we've always loved it. This year, we are joined with Luvi Avendano on timpani, Zach Neufeld on organ, And we have our own brass quintet led by John McQuilkin. This is Rondo.
What a way to start a concert, huh? Thank you so much to our brass timpani organ for making that one so much fun. Well, now we have a bonus song for you because it got left off the program. But we do have a song coming up next with this group. This is the next song in what I've been calling our PBS set, because if you are a PBS fan, you probably will recognize this tune as well, especially if you are a fan of Ken Burns. This song was used as the title theme for his miniseries, The Civil War. And it has such an authentic sound that most viewers, including me, thought it was a real folk song from the Civil War era. It's not. It was actually written in 1982 by a fiddle player, Jay Unger, who wrote it for his band Fiddle Fever. And they used to play it at the end of his fiddle and dance camp that he did in the Catskill Mountains of New York. And Ken Burns heard it, loved it, and used it 25 times in that miniseries. I don't know if you remember, but it seemed to play almost constantly. Jay Unger, the composer, describes this song as a lullaby in the style of a Scottish lament written by a Jewish guy from Queens. And now we will be playing it on English handbells in a California bell choir. So this is Ashicon Farewell.
chapel bells are ringers in 3rd through 5th grade. Many of them are recent graduates of the cherub chimes, so they're taking a big step up the musical ladder here. They're playing real English handbells now, and they're reading music. So it takes a lot of commitment to being here every week, and a lot of counting and concentration, right, guys? Yeah. Right, guys? The first song we're going to play for you was the most popular song in the United States back in 1843. Not that any of you remember that. It just bears repeating because it shows the enduring nature of music, right? That a good song can last forever. 180 years for this one. It was well known because of its very simple singable melody as well as its nostalgic lyrics. We learned this one, we sang it, and then we played boom whackers, and then we played xylophones, and now finally we're going to play it for you on handbells. In our version of this, you'll see that the low bells, the bass bells, are going to mallet the accompanied part, and the treble bells are going to ring the melody. So it gives it a little bit more interest for people to listening, and it also makes it a lot more fun for our ringers. So this is Long, Long Ago. The next song we're going to be doing for you this afternoon is called Many and Great. It's also known as the Dakota Hymn. It was also written in the 1840s by a man called Joseph Rendille, who was a fur trader and trapper in the South Dakota, Minnesota area. Joseph was half Dakota and half French, thus the kind of European-sounding last name. And he wrote many hymns by taking Christian lyrics, often from Bible passages, and putting them to pre-existing Dakota melodies. In this case, it's a really cool minor melody that sounds very Native American-y, for lack of a better word. And to give it a little bit more Native American flavor, we're joined by my friend Tom Ball, who's going to do a little Native American drumming back there. This is Many and Great.
We now have the pleasure of hearing from our chancel choir. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Louvie for a few moments here.
I want to praise the wonders of your might.
Thank you very much to the Chancellor Choir and Louis Avendano. That was beautiful. We are very fortunate to belong to a church that loves music and loves to support music and loves to collaborate. So we are going to continue our tradition of collaboration by doing a song with the Chancellor Choir. This is another one of our favorites from a few years ago, Come Now Is the Time to Worship. It was written by a Canadian songwriter and worship leader named Brian Dirksen, who reports that he wrote it at a time that he was very low. He had had some major and devastating setbacks in his life and said that he just felt broken, that God seemed very distant from him, until he went for a walk one day and the words, "Come just as you are," came into his head. And suddenly he did feel that God was near, and he felt that he was enough. Even in his brokenness, he was enough. So he raced home, wrote down this song, and the rest is history, because within weeks, this song was being sung around the globe. And I don't think Brian is a Methodist, but this story kind of reminds me of a famous Methodist, John Wesley. If you know his story, you might remember that he had some pretty low periods in his life as well. When he came to the New World to try to convert the Native Americans in Georgia, didn't go so well. He went back to London kind of in shame. And he reports that he had fear, and he didn't feel like he was getting support from his religion. He just wasn't feeling a connection there. He felt that God was very far away. And in his case, he went to a prayer meeting on Aldersgate Street in London. And in his words, he says, "I felt my heart strangely warmed. And I felt God near me and knew that God loves me, even me, and forgives me." So, see? Two inspiring stories. The rest is history with John Wesley as well, because he was inspired. He felt the Spirit move him to change the church, and he ended up starting the Methodist Church. So we hope you are inspired by our version of Come Now Is the Time to Worship. We have our own little praise band back here. My friends Jill and Tom Ball on bass and guitar, Louis Avendano on percussion, and the Chancel Choir and Bell Choir with Come Now Is the Time to Worship.
Now is the time.
next, we have a spiritual for you. This is part of our spiritual set. We have 2 sacred songs together, and no bell choir concert would be complete without at least 1 spiritual. We love to play these. They're usually quite upbeat and rhythmic and fun to play, and this one is no exception. So just a quick note on spirituals. A spiritual is a song that was sung by the African American slaves, often when they were working, to give them comfort, to give them strength and endurance, and to give them hope of an afterlife where things would be better. Some of the African American spirituals, however, had a much more practical and radical purpose. They allowed the slaves to communicate secret messages and information to each other about the Underground Railroad. For example, this one, Wade in the Water, instructed slaves to travel along the riverbank so the dogs giving chase would be thrown off their scent. And it's said that Harriet Tubman used to sing this to the slaves as she helped escort them to freedom. Our version of Wade in the Water is very rhythmic and bluesy, and it's a favorite of ours from both 2008 and 2016. We really love the cool malleted bass part in the bottom, so listen to that. And it sounds a lot like, well, I'm not going to tell you. Listen to the bass part and see if it reminds you of a theme song of some kind. This is Wade in the Water. All right, so what was it? Did you recognize the tune? Bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, bum. What is it? Peter Gunn, that's right. I'm not sure he did that intentionally a lot, but it definitely sounds like Peter Gunn. I'm going to come center here so they can get in. I'm going to be welcoming our next bell choir, the Young Adult Bells. These are ringers in 8th grade through college, and some of these ringers have been ringing with me since they were in preschool. So Zach and Mia and Aaron, about 3/4 of your life, and Haley, about 3/4 of their lives they've been with me. This group is the oldest and the most proficient of our children and youth bell choirs. And this year they had the honor of being invited to play at the big Christmas Nativity in the Park concert to hundreds of people. It was a big honor, but it was also very challenging because it was rainy and cold and windy and our music kept flying everywhere. But they were troopers, and they did a really good job of the Nutcracker and Carol of the Bells. I was and am very proud of this group. The first song we're going to do for you today is one that I'm sure you all know. You probably learned it in church camp and Sunday school. I've Got the Joy. It's known for its infectious enthusiasm. You probably all know the words to it, right? I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart to stay. And the second verse that always got my tongue all twisted when I was a kid, I've got the peace that passeth understanding, which I had no idea what that meant. And I found several more verses to the song that I had never heard before, and I could not resist sharing them with you. How about, I've got the happy hope that heckles heathens. Nice alliteration there, right? This one's my favorite. I got the far out faith that freaks out farmers. Love to know what church camp that was sung at. And the big finish, if the devil doesn't like it, he can sit on attack. You just can't make this stuff up. I get to play on this one because one of our ringers is at grad night tonight, so I get to play along with I've Got the Joy. Wasn't that fun? It certainly lived up to its name. I've Got the Joy. All right, the next song we'll be playing for you this afternoon was written by a friend of ours, a very talented musician and bell ringer Hank Wadsworth, who used to play with us years ago, and we thought it was especially fitting this year because next summer, in June of 2024, we're sending a group of youth to London, England on a Wesley Heritage Tour to learn a little bit more about our Methodist roots. And last month, many of you were there, we had a big Harry Potter themed dinner and auction to raise money for our trip. And it was just glorious. The decorating committee went all out and you really felt like you were in the Great Hall of Hogwarts. And now we're kind of on this Harry Potter kick. So we had Harry Potter movie night and Harry Potter Sunday school, and now we have Harry Potter bell music. You all know the story, I'm sure, of Harry Potter, the misunderstood, neglected orphan boy who found out on his 11th birthday that he was really a wizard, and he received an invitation to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. The 7 books were written by J.K. Rowling, and they welcomed children, and many of us adults, into the magical world of Hogwarts, complete with magical spells, mystical creatures, suspense, and battles between good and evil. The books were, of course, made into movies, and the movies are just as magical as the books, if not more, because they have the music of John Williams, one of the most iconic movie composers of all time. John Williams, 91 years old, and still going strong. So we're going to be playing 3 of the themes that he wrote for the movies from the first 2 movies. The first theme we'll be doing is Hedwig's theme, the one that's used in all 7 movies. And then we'll do Fawkes the Phoenix and Harry's Wondrous World. This is themes from Harry Potter. That was fun, wasn't it? All right, well, we got some more fun for you because the adult bells, the adult bells are back now to share a couple of their favorite pop tunes with you. And handbells are probably not the first thing you think of when you think of pop music, but we think it works. This jazz standard is a favorite of ours from 2018, Fly Me to the Moon. And it was most famously sung by the chairman of the board, old Blue Eyes himself, Frank Sinatra. That's right. Frank is considered by many to be the greatest vocalist of the 20th century. He's known for his amazing range, his ability to hold a note seemingly forever, and his very beautiful phrasing, which he says he learned when he was playing with the Tommy Dorsey Band. He would listen to the instrumentalists and copy their phrasing. But he's probably best known for his velvety, lush voice. Fly Me to the Moon, Frank's version, was and is often associated with the Apollo missions to the moon. It was the first music played on the moon, at least as far as we know, when Buzz Aldrin played it during his moonwalk. So we'll be joined on this one by Luvia Vendano on percussion and Zach Neufeld on, it looks like an organ, but it's really a synthesizer on this song. This is a very fun arrangement of Fly Me to the Moon.
All right, so can handbells play pop music or can handbells play pop music, right? I think Frank would have approved. So after 5 months of preparation, we are already at the end of another bell choir concert. So before we do our last song, I have some people that I need to thank. So bear with me for just a few minutes. First of all, we'd like to thank the Chancel Choir under the direction of Luvia Vendano for being with us. And thank you to Zach Neufeld for being here as our accompanist. Thank you to all of our instrumentalists, Jill and Tom on guitar and bass and assorted percussion. Our brass quintet, some of who I think had to leave, John McQuilkin, Randy Jones, Tommy Militello, Kevin Ying, and John Robinson. And thank you to our opera singer turned percussionist, Luvia Vendano. Thank you to our media team for all their help, the slides and taping it. And yeah, in your mind, if you would switch around that A and that Y so it says sway, I would really appreciate that. And I have a really special thank you today to our substitute ringers. As I mentioned earlier, when you're in a bell choir, you are the only person that plays those bells. So if you're not there, they don't get played. It's like grabbing a handful of notes out of a piano and then trying to play it. So we really need every person there every week. And much as I would like to tell the bell choirs that they're not allowed to go anywhere, occasionally they like to go on vacation, and occasionally they get sick. So we have a group of really great substitute ringers that help us out when we're in a bind. And tonight, we have 2 of our substitute ringers ringing with us. We had Jerry Knitz in the back row, whose daughter is graduating right now from Cal State Channel Line, so he couldn't be here. And Valerie Tall got sick on Thursday and couldn't make it tonight. She has COVID. And Sally Anderson stepped in with 2 rehearsals to play with us tonight. So thank you, John McQuilkin and Sally Anderson, for being here. Most of all, thank you to the 55-odd ringers that were here tonight. I appreciate them so much. The commitment of time that they have to put in, the effort, the heart and soul that they put into this concert every year. I'm so grateful to all of them. So thank you, bell ringers. And thank you to all of you for being here on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. We hope you had a good time. If you did, I hope you'll come back next year and bring friends. We're always the Sunday between Mother's Day and Memorial Day. It's very easy to remember. But if you need a reminder, we are going to have a mailing list this year. So you can let me know if you'd like to be on our mailing list. The email address is very easy to remember. It's bells@camarilloumc.org. So if you let me know, I'll put you on our mailing list and we'll let you know about the concert next year. That's bells@camarilloumc.org. So now, to get you dancing out the door, we have one last song. This was a favorite of ours from 2012. Sway is the English version of the song Quien Sera, which was a 1953 mambo song by Mexican composer and band leader Pablo Beltran Ruiz. And mambo is a musical form and dance that originated in Cuba and Mexico, and it became popular in New York City in the 1950s. And this song became famous around that time when Dean Martin made it famous. So any of you out there know how to mambo? I was going to say Margie must know how. I'm afraid that my knowledge of the mambo is limited to what I see on Dancing with the Stars and in West Side Story. But it's a ballroom dance, kind of like the rumba or the cha-cha. It's known for being flirtatious, sensual, and having exaggerated hip movements. Am I right, Margie? I'm describing it all right? And there's a contrast between the long, flowing movements and the quick, short steps. I think it best that I not demonstrate it this time. So we're going to go ahead and play it for you instead. Listen for the, you'll hear kind of a marimba sound in the basses. They're mailing, and it'll sound kind of like a marimba. We have our own little Latin band going on here. Jill and Tom and Luvi are going to be joining us on percussion. This is Sway.